So premature on the video. We are live.
Good morning.
Good morning, fantasy football fans.
Welcome to Getting Defensive, presented by Gridiron Ratings. This is our first show going live on YouTube. You should go subscribe. It is Gridiron Rating Fantasy Football.
We'd love to have all the subscribers we could get a hold of as soon as we can. So I'm greedy. I love it. We're on YouTube.
We'll be having guests on, rotating guests weekly. Going to try and do this twice a week for everybody. And this week, Gary wants to talk about some linebackers.
Yep, it's my fade, shades, trades, and upgrades. But before I get started, we are pumped up here at Getting Defensive. We're new to YouTube with this format, but we've been on Periscope or Twitter for quite some time. We had a little off season, but we're back at it, and we're on YouTube, and we would love it if you would subscribe, check us out. We're here to talk IDP fantasy football and pro NFL defensive players. As Roxanne mentioned, we're going to have guests. We actually have a third wheel that's going to be joining us every Tuesday normally. His name is James. He's a writer and a really smart IDP talent. He's got a lot of knowledge too. He'll be joining us this Friday morning at 9-10 o'clock. So, that's the plans at the moment. And then starting next Tuesday, he'll become a regular on the Tuesday shows. So I really appreciate everybody that's going to go out there and subscribe and support us and check us out on Twitter at the same time at Getting Defensive. Any follows would be appreciated, and the account will follow you back. So, and if you could hit Roxanne up there, the IDP queen, you can see that she is, she don't have it up there, but your handle is what?
At F Queen Roxanne.
Right. And I'm Gary, AKA the IDP tipster on Twitter. I appreciate it if you could, throw me a follow and I'll follow you back. But now let's get right to it. Okay.
Also, real quick, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. And at the end of the show, we will answer them.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to address any questions during these programs. So I'm the one that's dropping the ball, Roxanne. I didn't have my doc up of my players. So, but we are right there.
Right.
So
First, you have Cowboys, Leighton Vander Esch.
So we're going to go with the fades first. Okay.
Fades
There's
first.
a reason. Fades first. So the reason that I'm going with Vander Esch is a fade. We actually talked about this when we had James with us a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to recap. And we're going to go over a few that I've talked about over the last couple of weeks, but we're also adding a couple of new ones. But he is definitely in the fade category for me in IDP leagues. He certainly, this injury has changed his performance on the field that he received in 2019 after his rookie season, that he was outstanding. You could see when he got the injury and he's tried to come back, he is just not the same player. But more alarmingly was last year, when he was healthy, when he got injured again, but when he was healthy, they were using Sean Lee, which is, Sean Lee is a stud, but he is an old guy. He's no longer with the team right now, but they were using him just as much and rotating him and Vander Esch in and out. So they were limiting his play just last season. And then on top of this year, we have Canu Neal was the former strong safety from the Atlanta Falcons. He is signed with the Dallas Cowboys, and it's already been reported that he's going to be moving to the weak inside linebacker position, which is setting up a bunch of alarms and bells that we need to, or red flags that we need to pay attention to. If they're not going to take, it's in my opinion, of course, all of this is an opinion, but they're not going to take Jaylon Smith off of the field at all. He can play the run. He can play, and he's the best, fastest coverage fella. So, and he has played the middle inside linebacker position, which is where Vander Esch usually plays. And he can play both positions. He actually might be better at that position. So our scenario is that with them taking Neal and making him a weak inside linebacker, that basically I feel that Vander Esch is not going to be an every down linebacker. So when I mean by fade, I am talking about, I am not drafting him. I am not, I'm not going to draft him in any redrafts or any dynasty leagues this year, just to make sure that whatever this situation's coming up, that I'm not stuck spending a decent, draft pick or if I could buy him cheap, maybe, but I'm not trading for him on purpose, and I'm not going to go full out on him. I do not think that he's going to see the field nearly enough to contribute more than maybe a low linebacker 2. And if he injures that neck again, which we've seen it happen a couple of times over the last couple of years, it's just not worth it. It just, Jaylon Smith is the only secure linebacker, in my opinion, in that core. And he is just, he's the stud. So he's going to get that production. So.
Absolutely. And who do we have? Oh, Bills Matt Milano.
Yes, and this pains me. Matt Milano was a breakout.
He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, yes, he does. He spends entirely too much. I think we figured it out that he's only played like 2/3 of the games that he could possibly play in his career. And it pains me to say this, and that I'm going to avoid Matt, because he was a breakout call of mine for 2018, and he just killed it. But the one thing about Matt Milano, other than the fact that he's not, can't stay healthy, I don't care if he has re-signed with the Bills, is the fact that his 2018, he had a lot of turnovers. He had like 3 fumbles or such, or something along that line. And he had a lot of extra playmaking type plays that he really padded his score box. When it really boils down to it, is his ceiling for his combined tackles, which is our base production, it's not that great. I mean, he has had a good season back in 2018, but he has not been able to repeat that. So I am nervous, not only about his injury, but I am also nervous that he has no longer been able to make those types of plays that you can count on, like the interceptions and such. And I just don't think that he's going to amount more than, again, a low linebacker too. I think there are better options that we can get a ceiling on later in the drafts.
Agreed. And we have Vinny Montoya saying good morning and appreciate all the IDP talk he can get. So good morning, Vinny.
Good morning, Vinny.
All right.
If you got anything for us.
What?
I said, I told Vinny to let us know if he's got anything for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Moving on to your shades, who are players likely unwilling to pay the price for redrafts or leagues.
Yep. I am going straight to the throat, and there are going to be a lot of people that is probably you're either going to agree with me really strong or you're going to disagree with me really strong. But Devin Bush of the Steelers, I understand this dude, had all the talent and everything that everybody wanted when he came out of college. His first year, he was used in a crazy way by the Steelers coaching staff. He didn't actually get a huge amount of snaps all the time. He was actually a part-timer a lot of the times. And then he's turned around and now he's got an ACL tear. Right. The most alarming fact to me is that he did not start out last season consistently recording a lot of tackles. I'm not sure how this happens, but it was like after he got hurt, you had Spielman and Avery Williamson at one point was in there for him, and they were just gangbanging the whole production. They were getting plenty of tackles. And it throws up a red flag to me that Devin Bush has not consistently been able to do this. And now with this ACL tear, I'm really nervous. So when it comes to any drafts, especially redrafts this year, the price that would cost you to get Devin Bush in a draft, I'm throwing shade on it. I'm going to go ahead and look at the other people ranked around him or move on. I'm not looking to add him to any of my rosters this year.
Yeah. 6.5 tackles per game is,
right for his ADP.
Why target that?
Yeah, I mean that's almost for that to be an average, and you got to count on the box score. His ADP is a hell of a lot higher than that than what he supports it with his combined tackles and such, which is his base. You've got to look at those tackles, and then you have to break it down a little farther. Look at his solo tackles compared to his combined tackles or his assisted tackles, because there's usually in scoring formats, there's a big difference. Like tackles are usually 2 points, and then assists are half that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just somebody that I'm not looking to invest in at all this year.
Right. And we have another one. Kenneth Murray from last year was his rookie year. He got a lot of talk before the season. He was supposed to be just,
Yeah.
Great.
And it might have been the COVID. It might have been a COVID season, possibly. True. Maybe if this player, or maybe if he would have had a real preseason and a real developmental stage, 2-a-days, or not 2-a-days, but either way, they would have had spring practice and everything else, rookie practice and this, and maybe he would have been a better guy. But it's a huge red flag knowing that the report was about mid-season when they were playing Miami, they legitimately just pulled him because he was having trouble and struggling with the running the defense. So, I like Kenneth Murray last year. I don't think he took advantage, whatever his problem is. And that is just another player that is ADP is. I'm afraid he's not going to match that, and I'm going to let somebody else find out in some drafts.
A PFF grade of 54.
Wow,
right there.
Yeah, for granted he's a rookie, and he's a perfect example of why I usually would tell somebody, rookies are luxuries. If they work out, they work out. If they don't, then
Right.
If you hadn't planned on him being your main starter in your lineup in a deep format or even a shallow format, then then no harm, no foul. But if you planned on it and his performance ended up being,
Right.
he still recorded some, but he still got LB2 numbers, high LB2 numbers, and depending on the format, maybe a low LB1. But this grade, that is a poor grade on top of the rumor or the report that he was sat. So
Right.
of course he could take a second year leap. All of them can, if they can get to the practice this year. There's no COVID situation to where they can
Right.
they can get it together. But I am just not willing to pay what his ADP is likely going for,
Right.
or what somebody would want him in a trade. So
Right.
he is
I think
definitely a shade for me.
Maybe he got hyped up so much last year for whatever reason. I know why, obviously, but
Right.
to come into the NFL and do that again, it's a struggle. Like you said, rookies are a luxury, and it rarely happens. And
Yep.
possibly this year, like you said, preseason, OTAs, all that maybe can get
Yep.
better meshed with the team. And
Yeah, and there was a report, and it came out. They've hired a new defensive coordinator. I can't remember his name, but they're legitly just. They may be switching schemes from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and they have Drew Tranquill coming back. And now, whether or not that helps Murray, I have no clue. I'm not willing to find out at his price to get him at right now. But you got Drew Tranquill that should be coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if there's still a couple of decent free agents out there that they might look at, like KJ Wright, bring him in, or the possibility of just drafting high again at linebacker. Because if you look at Murray on tape from last year and you've seen his struggles, you might think, well, I don't know. We got Drew Tranquill coming back, and he was hurt the first game of last year with an ankle injury that put him out for the year. We don't know what he's going to offer us completely, if he can be back at 100%. And then we have Murray on tape as struggling to run the defense. So I'm gonna throw shade on him. Throw shade on him.
And okay, is that all you have on him? That was a good one.
Yep.
And who are we trading? Who's your first one? We got Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah, this is going to be people are going to be like, what? Because the simple fact is most of the time, this guy in rankings is a top 10. You look at anybody's rankings, he's usually in that top 10. He has fell a little bit. And there's a reason I am not paying a top 10 price or, drafting him as a top 10 guy anymore, because he is basically, he's never topped his first season as a rookie. He had 121 tackles. He had a few playmaking plays, and he's kind of peaked at that point. I don't think, if we can't get a shot at a guy that can record you that 140 combined tackles and add additional playmaking plays, I don't think that that's worth a top 10 selection. So he's just basically, what I would do is, if I owned him right now and he was not the anchor of my lineup, I would hope that somebody else doesn't agree with me and I can get my value out of him now. I think it's worth moving on now and trading him and getting his value, as long as I can afford to, because I'm sure that whatever I can get in exchange, I could help the rest of my team. I could get picks. I could find another rookie. I think he's just replaceable. I don't think he's a top 10 guy anymore. I recently did some rankings, and I'm pretty sure I ranked him outside my top 10. And after looking at the situation again, if I do rankings in the future, he'll definitely be out of my top 10. If I can get value for him, I'm going to go ahead and go for it now, because he's entering his rookie season, or his final season of his rookie contract. And if he doesn't display a little bit more, his value is probably going to drop. I can't see it maintaining a top 10 selection at all. So he's got to go.
Right. All right. And next we have Jordan Hicks.
Jordan Hicks. This is probably a no-brainer for a lot of people. Jordan Hicks has actually been a guy that for the last couple of years, I had two players, Noam Alexander and Jordan Hicks, that were on my avoid list. And it was mainly because of injury. Now, I got a 50-50 right, because since I started doing that about 3 or 4 years ago, Alexander's pretty well been a bust. He's been hurt every year, and he's moved around, and I'm not even sure if he's on a squad right now. But Jordan Hicks, he actually stepped it up that first year with the Cardinals, and he recorded a lot of tackles, a lot of plays, and he was entering last year, he was a top 10 option. The team has gotten better around him, okay? Right. And we've seen this fall off this past year.
With all the mouths to feed there, that's how it works, right?
Right. The more talent, you got Buda Baker there, and now you got Isaiah Simmons that's going to be stepping in.
Right.
And he is just, not taking a huge amount away from Jordan Hicks, but Isaiah Simmons is just another level type player.
Right.
And he's going to demand his production. And, if the Cardinals do the right thing, they're going to have him out there full-time, period. Throw the guy into the fire full-time this year. Let him do his thing, because he was showed that he can make plays. He has an instinct that you just can't teach somebody. But like in 2019, we had Hicks. He recorded close to 145 tackles or something, and then he dropped completely last year down to that, looks like about a 120 range. I suspect that that's going to happen again. I think that I'll actually dive down again.
Right.
You got so much better talent around him, younger guys. It's hard to tell what they do in the draft this year too. So it's definitely a guy. If I can get some trade value out of him, I believe he's 28.
Yeah.
So he's at the last year or two of his prime as a linebacker, in my opinion. I'm going to try to, if I can afford to, and he's not a key clog in my starting lineup, I'm going to try to get some value out of him now. I think he's on the downslide.
Right. And you're good on trades. We go to your upgrades now.
Yep.
And
I got 3.
We have Anthony Walker.
Yep. So
run defense. Well.
Yep. We just talked about him not that long ago on one of the Getting Defenses with James on. Anthony Walker was a former Colt. He has starting experience. He's a veteran. He's still, I believe he's only around 26 years old, and now he's signed with the Browns. And if you look at that Browns roster, he is the best talent on there veteran-wise. Jacob Phillips might have something to prove this year. Maybe he's a little bit better talent, but we can't count on that. And we can see from last year, they brought in retread B.J. Goodson and stuck him in that middle inside linebacker position, and he produced. He didn't produce at a top level like Joe Scobert had in previous years in that position, but I think Anthony Walker can be almost as good as Scobert and better than Goodson at playing the middle inside linebacker position. And all indications are that's what they brought him in to do. Unless something something happens. I don't think there's a free agent out there that they would bring in that would probably bump him out of the middle inside linebacker position. And I don't think that they're going to draft another one. They've drafted a couple each year. I think that they're going to go into this season with Anthony sitting there. And and this is the upgrade is that in the past, he's always been kind of a low linebacker 2, maybe an upper linebacker 3, depending on Okrick and super stud Darius Leonard. And I think that we're going to actually see linebacker 1 numbers coming out of Walker this year in the middle of that defense.
Barring they add anyone else, elite or not, we all know players can be productive by default.
Yep. So, and that 100%.
That's what we're looking at with him. We go to Colts Bobby Okereke. How do you say it?
That's yeah. I'm not even going to try it. You got it. So last year, Walker, as I mentioned, he was a Colt. And Walker started out the season as the middle inside linebacker, and then Bobby, I'll call him Bobby. Bobby replaced him. I believe it was around the 3rd or 4th game. He started taking over, starting at the middle inside linebacker position. And we all know Darius Leonard's at that weak side linebacker position and a complete stud. But traditionally in that scheme, your middle inside linebacker is the run stopper type dude. So the problem is we've not been able to see real low linebacker 1 or upper linebacker 2 type numbers out of Walker or Okrick since Okrick was drafted, because they've kind of mixed and matched. They've had some injury problems where it's like as soon as they put Okrick in last year, it didn't last long and he had a minor injury. So Walker was brought back in. Then Okrick started getting healthy, started getting back in there. We seen Walker back in again because Darius Leonard had a game or so that he was injured. Right. So they was rotating him. Walker's gone. Walker's in Cleveland. It's just on paper, it makes sense. They have Bobby and they have Darius Leonard. Now, I know you're going to say, no, Darius Leonard's a stud, and he's going to record 130 combined tackles plus a year, and that is very true. But if you take and you divide what Okrick and Walker did on the field in a sharing kind of a way last year, Okrick can, I believe he can still offer low linebacker 1 numbers this year. And I think last year he might have touched being a linebacker 2. But I think this year we're going to see that next step up, and we're going to see a lot more production out of him. He's an upgrade for me.
Yeah. I mean, simple math, more playing time equals more opportunities for plays. Yep. I mean, if he can, like you said, stay healthy and show what he can do, it could be even 140 plus year, I think, too. And then we have Jets Jared Davis.
Yep.
You like him?
All right. Yep. This he failed with the Lions. I think he was a first round. Will you look that up? I think he was a first round. I'm not 100%, but I think he was a first round selection. But I'm kind of losing that for sure to lock that down right now. But either way, he was drafted by the Lions. Everybody thought he was going to be the next guy. Patricia, which is no longer there, the head coach, made sure that never happened. He was a first rounder.
21st pick in the first round.
Right. So, I mean, he basically he made a little bit of an impact his rookie season, and then he just continuously fell off. And Patricia basically didn't use him hardly at all last year. Now, this guy's young. He was a first round talent. Right. Now he's landed with the Jets. And if you look at that depth chart right now, as long as they don't go, getting Parsons or somebody in the draft, if they stick with what they have right now, they've let Hewitt go, which has been an average guy. He's got a lot of playing time over the last couple of years for the fact that C.J. Mosley has not been able to play and all the injuries that they've had. I think Jared Davis is that guy now. I think in that
Mhm.
And that scheme, technically, if they run that scheme, you get two inside linebackers. So say CJ Mosley comes back and he's ready to go, he's healthy and he plays. You still have room for Jared Davis. And he has
Right.
been so far off the radar at I can't even really say a linebacker 3 for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
He's been so far, he has nowhere to go but up
Right.
when you look at that when
Right.
you look at that roster right now.
Right.
And especially for some reason, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, but heaven forbid something happened to Mosley or Mosley gets traded. There was rumors of that earlier in the season. Yeah, right. Yeah, for whatever reason. Now, I do know Mosley just took last year off for the COVID situation, but we haven't seen him on the field for a couple of years now. So I think them bringing in, and they paid Jared Davis. They didn't pay him for a backup money. They paid him $7 million a year. So I think they have plans for him. And even if, say, he ends up only being a run stopper, a middle inside linebacker, maybe they put Mosley at the weak inside linebacker for the coverage. It's still going to be an upgrade for him. He might be serviceable for bye weeks or such. If we're lucky, they just go back to the traditional and have them both on there for every down. But we'll see. I think our ceiling is probably at best just a solid linebacker 2 for Davis going forward. And again, that it depends on what's going on with the rest of the draft and the off season. But right now he looks pretty secure. Adding him if you're in a deep format and you're in a draft and you can try to add him towards the end and just wait and see. But I think he's going to pay off.
Well, as a former first rounder pick, he should be something somewhere, he should get his opportunity even,
Right. Second chances. Yeah. It's kind of like one of those players. I mean, granted, he didn't show well his first year or as well as we thought he would, but I think he was kind of given a raw deal with Patricia. Patricia's kind of like Belichick. That's where he came from, and that's what he was trying to turn the Lions into. If Patricia doesn't care for you, or if he's got other favorite guys, he doesn't care. He doesn't care what the situation is. He's going to go with that.
Right.
So I think that this is a good second chance for Davis to prove that, and some players develop over years, and he's not that old yet. So, it took a little bit more to get that out of him. And I think he's going to get his opportunity this year. And with all these upgrades that we're talking about Walker and with the Browns, Okereke with the Colts, and when we're talking about Davis. Okay, let's skip back real quick. I wanted to make sure. So I had on the trade, I had Trayman Edmonds and I had Jordan Hicks. Okay, as part of your deals, if you're trying to trade these guys, if you actually do, or if I was going to do this, those three would probably be targets that I would try to throw in. It wouldn't be my main thing unless I got all three of them for Trayman Edmonds. But I think that they would definitely be like, hey, you got Okereke sitting on your thing, throw that in with that pick, and here's Edmonds for you, whichever way you want to go. I'm not a pick person, so I wouldn't take a first rounder for Edmonds. But however you would do it, you might be able to get one of these guys that we just talked about, upgrades, thrown in for, say, Jordan Hicks or something for Edmonds as part of the deal. And it'd be kind of an under radar type move possibly. So I wanted to kind of combine those two in the last there, if that made any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's all we have for this week.
Yep. Short and sweet. We went to
it. Again, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Gridiron Rating Fantasy Football. It's our premiere week, first time. We will see you back here Friday morning.
Yep. 10 o'clock. Look forward to it. Hopefully James is going to be with us. And we'll roll on. We'll figure out what we're going to talk about then.
Always good stuff talking with Gary. He has a lot of insight for your leagues if you really need help. So
go subscribe, people. Go to our YouTube. Subscribe for us, please. And you never know. I'm just going to leave it alone. Just go subscribe for us. Make sure you give Roxanne a follow. Throw me a follow if you feel like it. And then at Getting Defensive on Twitter would appreciate a follow too. And we'll make sure we'll follow back.
Absolutely.
So, until Friday, I'm done.
I'm done.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.